Hey there and welcome to the June 2023 update for the Dallas-Fort Worth housing market. I'm Chase Hansen, your DFW Realtor. Every month I'm here unpacking what it's really like for home buyers and sellers out there today. Not based on headlines and hot takes, but taking real data and what we're actually seeing working with clients every day. Not only that, but I'll be looking at one of the top factors influencing the housing market, where it's at, where it's going, so you can be informed whether you're moving, thinking about moving, or may move someday. It's June, pool party and grilling season. Now, at the top of every episode, I try to summarize the state of the market in some way. This month is going to take a little nuance, so stay with me. Over the last couple years, the Texas real estate market has essentially followed the weather. It starts cool in January and early February, heats up in the spring, stays pretty steadily hot over the summer, cools down towards Thanksgiving, and is pretty mild in the winter. So far, this year has followed that same trend. But there's an interesting thing happening with home prices right now. So stay tuned because I'll explain that in the news on the ground. And then after that, in our Nerd Corner, I'm going to talk about people overpaying for houses and some insight on that from a trusted economist. So that's where we're going this episode. Make sure you've liked and subscribed. Let's jump in. Up first, I'm going to give you the news on the ground. This is the part of the update where I give you the on-the-ground report of what it's like to be a buyer or seller in today's market. Like I said up top, explaining this market is going to take a little nuance. And that's okay. When a market is complicated, that doesn't mean it's unmanageable. It just means you need an expert who can walk you through it and give you the right advice to meet your goals. This spring and now transitioning into summer, we have seen a steady market with home prices rising at a normal rate each month. Not the crazy price jumps of a couple years ago. And the demand for homes, so the numbers of buyers getting qualified for mortgages, making offers, buying houses, that has stayed strong and steady. In general, there are more buyers looking for houses right now than we've had inventory available. So houses sell quickly, buyers and their agents have to be strategic. That has all been happening even as mortgage rates have been higher due to Congress's budget standoff, and we've seen the year-to-year prices down from last summer. That's where it's complicated. Let me explain those two briefly. Mortgage rates had been trending down, but in mid-May they rose back up a good bit because the debt ceiling talks in Congress put financial markets in a risky position. At the time of this recording, it sounds like that drama is behind us, so I expect and hope rates to settle back into the trajectory they were on before. Although in general, it's wise to budget for slightly higher rates and end up with lower rate than the other way around. Long-term, experts still expect rates to fall over the next few years, and there is wisdom in getting a house you can afford now and then refinancing to open up more budget later once rates have fallen, because house prices keep rising. The key is just making sure that you can afford it now before jumping in. Then on the price side of things, last year we had an inflated market. That's the simple version of it. So the average sales price today is lower than it was a year ago, even though prices have been rising at a steady rate all year. That doesn't mean your house has lost value. It just means that some people last summer got ahead of the market and probably overpaid a little on their big sales price to lock in lower interest rates before those shot up. I bet that might have been the right move for some people, maybe not for others. We'll talk about overpaying for houses in our Nerd Corner. The thing I want to emphasize here, though, is that houses aren't losing value. And the people who act like they are will get taken advantage of in this market. So don't be one of those people. That's why I do these updates, to keep people informed so they can make wise decisions in their move. So to finish our news on the ground, buyers, make sure your agent and lender are watching mortgage rates so you don't get hit by a spike. They change every day, and sometimes it's best to wait a couple days to lock in at a lower rate if you're going under contract. And then sellers, you still have a strong position for your home sale. Don't buy into the news headlines about dropping home prices. Make sure your agent is bringing you research and showing their work. Too many agents out there are shooting from the hip just to get listings instead of doing the real work to make sure their clients are covered. So ask to see their work. How'd you come up with that number? What are the sold comps? What's the competition? If you or someone you know are planning to move in the DFW area, I'd love to help. My contact info is in the video description. Feel free to send me an email to connect and let's talk. And if you've made it this far but haven't dropped a like on the video yet, make sure to do that so more people can find this info. Now it's time to go a bit deeper. This is our Nerd Corner where I dive into the trends, statistics, and news stories that are important for understanding and predicting our market. Now, this month we're talking about overpaying for houses. Last week, I was listening to an interview with the chief economist for Keeping Current Matters, a real estate statistics resource that's great at capturing the national trends. And he gave some insight into what he considers to be the test for whether someone is overpaying for a house. Overpaying for a house is one of the top fears and worries I hear from buyers. Now, when we're out in the field looking at houses, I do everything I can to provide you with data on sales in the neighborhood, factors with the house to make informed decisions if you decide to put in an offer. But his framework is really smart and valuable, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So, when you're asking the question, am I overpaying for this house? Or am I paying more than this house is worth? These are the three factors he says to consider. First, what's the starting point you're measuring against? Second, what's your timeline? And third, where's the market going? So, first point. When he's talking about a starting point, he's talking about the point of reference you're using to decide if this house is a good decision or not. This is why I talk about things like other sales in the neighborhood and why I'm constantly looking at market trends both month to month and year to year. If you know what similar houses in the same neighborhood are selling for now, and you can track that growth in prices that the neighborhood has had over the years, that's a logical first place to look to know if a house is a safe investment. Second, when he's talking about timeline, he's talking about how long you plan to stay in the house. For example, if you bought a house at the peak of the market last summer, but only plan to live there till this summer, you overpaid for that house. Both because you didn't have enough time to build equity and because you didn't factor in holding costs and sales costs. But if you plan to be in a house for 4 or 5 years or 10 years, or if it's the house you plan to retire in, well, that's a different question. The way homes grow in value over time makes that a really safe bet, even when there are occasional recessions and shifts that happen in markets. That long-term growth is typically going to outpace any of those risks. Third, when he's talking about the trends of the market, he's talking about the built-in factors that make it likely for things to keep growing in the way they have been. The most direct one, a factor I've talked about a lot, is inventory. Now, we have a structural inventory shortage in this country. That means that due to the way that building is regulated, builders literally can't build enough new housing to keep up with the demand of home buyers and people entering the market. Now, this is actually a problem that needs fixing because it's bad for society if people can't afford to enter into home ownership. But at a structural level, home prices are going to keep rising long term because in the supply and demand equation, there's limited supply and growing demand. So when you bring those factors together, hopefully that helps you to consider whether a house is right for you and whether paying a certain price in a certain place at a certain time is the right decision for you. Again, those factors are from the economist George Ratiu with Keeping Current Matters. That's our Nerd Corner. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was that helpful? Are there other topics you want to know more about? Make sure you dropped a like on this video to get this info out to more people, and maybe go ahead and share this with a friend to make sure they're informed on what's going on in our market, especially if they're planning to move in the next year. Thanks for watching. My name is Chase Hansen. I'm a real estate agent serving buyers and sellers in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. If you or someone you know are looking to move this year, I would love to be the agent that gets you where you're trying to go. You can email me directly at chasehansen@remax.net. Follow me on Instagram at Hansen Realtors DFW for more great content or to DM and connect. Or you can find that contact info in the video description as well. Be sure to subscribe, like, check out the other videos on my channel. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.